This is going to sound absolutely insane, but I need you to tell me if I was the bad guy for doing this. I'm talking about the day I walked down an aisle of hand-picked Tuscan roses, wearing a custom Vera Wang gown, all while my parents were a 6-hour flight away, scrambling to save my sister's disastrous, budget airline wedding in a soggy field in Iowa. It sounds petty, I know, but after years of being the afterthought, of having my life, my achievements, my milestones constantly shoved aside for my sister's chaotic whims, something finally snapped. So, when they called me, just days before my meticulously planned, dream wedding in Italy, to say they wouldn't be coming because she needed them to mediate a fight with her future mother-in-law over the canapes, I hung up the phone, and I didn't cry. I didn't plead. I just looked at the ancient olive trees swaying outside my 6 million rented villa and decided my wedding was happening, and they weren't invited to the new, much better version. Now, sit back and tell me honestly, was I wrong for finally choosing myself, for choosing my own happiness over their perpetual drama? To really get this, you have to understand the dynamic between me and my sister, Chloe. It wasn't rivalry, it was an established, unquestioned hierarchy. Chloe was the beautiful, tragic, needy one. She was the one who flitted from one semi-stable job to the next, the one who always needed a financial bailout, the one who called mom at 3 a.m. crying because her boyfriend forgot their 3-month anniversary. I, on the other hand, was the rock. I was the one who graduated top of my class, the one who started a successful tech consultancy at 25, the one who bought her first house without a penny of help. I was the low-maintenance, high-achievement child. And in our family, low maintenance meant low priority. My parents didn't worry about me because I was always fine. I was the one who was relied on, never the one who was doted on. It sounds harsh, but my 3.9 GA was met with a nod, while Chloe's C in Intro to Pottery got a celebratory dinner, because she tried her best. This pattern continued right into our adult lives. When I got engaged to Liam, the kindest, most supportive man I have ever met, a partner who truly sees me, it was fantastic. We chose to have an intimate, elegant destination wedding in a stunning, privately owned villa in Tuscany. It was my dream, sun-drenched hills, incredible food, a small group of our closest friends and family, and an atmosphere of pure, unadulterated joy. We had been planning it for 18 months. Everything was perfect, right down to the little hand-painted ceramic favors. Then, 6 months after I sent out the save the dates for my sophisticated Italian affair, Chloe got engaged to a guy named Dave. Dave is, well, Dave. Nice enough, but a bit of a placeholder. Within a week, she announced a wedding date that was just 3 weeks after mine. Not only that, but her vision was the polar opposite of mine, a massive, casual, barn and bale of hay wedding on a farm owned by Dave's distant uncle in the middle of nowhere, Iowa. She immediately started sucking up all the oxygen in the room. My parents, suddenly realizing they were going to have 2 weddings back to back, started making subtle, then increasingly less subtle, requests for me to scale back my plans. Oh honey, don't you think Tuscany is a bit much, so expensive for everyone? Maybe you could just do something local and save the big party for Chloe, who has less in life. My mom would say this with a look of genuine concern, but it always felt like a dagger. I held firm. This was my day, and I wasn't sacrificing my vision. I even offered to pay for my parents' first-class tickets to Italy, thinking maybe the luxury would ease the burden. They accepted, of course. The final straw came 8 days before our flight to Rome. I was having a final dress fitting, giddy with excitement, when my phone rang. It was my dad, and he sounded incredibly stressed. He didn't even say hello. He just launched into it. Honey, listen, we have a huge problem. We're not going to be able to make it to Italy. I felt a cold dread settle in my stomach, but I tried to stay calm. What? Is someone sick? I asked. The answer was worse than sickness. No. It's Chloe. She's called off the wedding. Well, she threatened to. Dave's mother, Brenda, got into a massive shouting match with Chloe over the floral arrangements. Brenda wants artificial silk ones, Chloe wants peonies, and now Chloe is hysterical. She says her vision is ruined, that this is proof Brenda hates her, and she won't go through with it unless we fly out to Iowa tomorrow and basically broker peace. She needs us. She needs her parents. The phrase hung in the air, she needs us. It was the familiar code for a life event is now secondary to her emotional crisis. My heart hammered. I wanted to scream, to cry, to throw the phone across the room. I had paid for their flights, their accommodations, their entire luxurious week. And more importantly, I had waited 30 years for my turn. I asked him directly, keeping my voice terrifyingly even, so, you are going to choose a potential argument over a certain commitment. You are choosing a possible cancellation of an Iowa wedding over the actual celebration of your other daughter's marriage in Italy. There was a long. Then my dad's meek, defeated voice came back. We just feel we have to, sweetie. Chloe is really fragile right now. We'll make it up to you, we promise. I didn't say another word, I just slowly lowered the phone and ended the call. That night, something inside me changed. The dutiful, accommodating daughter died. I realized I was never going to get the primary, focused attention I deserved. And you know what? Liam was beside me the whole time. He was furious on my behalf, but he was also calm. He just held my hand and said, "We don't need them. We just need each other." That gave me the strength to shift my perspective from devastation to determination. I looked at the incredible, multi-million-dollar villa we were renting, with its private chef, its infinity pool overlooking the rolling hills, and its stunning courtyard garden. I looked at the small group of friends who were already flying in, our true chosen family. And I thought, no more putting up with this. This wedding is too beautiful, too meaningful to be tainted by their emotional blackmail. I called my wedding planner, who was an absolute angel, and I told her the situation. Her response was beautiful. "Alora, we make it better, we make it spectacular. We will make them regret this for the rest of their lives, Nana Vero." So that's the situation I was in. My own parents, choosing a family drama 6 states away over my wedding, which was already paid for and scheduled. I had the option to sulk, postpone, or even elope quietly. But honestly, the idea of them just breezing back into my life later with a half-hearted apology, thinking they could minimize my huge milestone, made my blood boil. I decided that this wasn't just my wedding anymore, it was my declaration of independence. It was going to be the most beautiful, unforgettable, and publicly documented event of my life. Before I tell you exactly what I did next, the incredible act of defiance that followed and the absolutely wild aftermath, I want you to pause right now and comment below what you would have done in my shoes. Would you have swallowed your pride and gone quietly, or would you have thrown the most magnificent, petty party the world has ever seen? Let me know, because this is where things get completely over the top. The very next day, I didn't cancel a single thing. I doubled down. I made one key phone call to my best friend, Sarah, who is a successful photographer and social media guru. I told her I wanted the wedding documented like a high-end magazine spread and poster across every platform possible. I wanted the world to see what my parents were missing. We didn't just have a photographer, we had a drone crew, a videographer, and a professional live stream setup. But the biggest change, I made a very strategic phone call to a well-known lifestyle and wedding magazine, the kind of magazine that pays for exclusive rights to celebrity weddings. I leveraged my tech connections, got in touch with the editor, and offered them exclusive access to the most stunning destination wedding of the year, with the added bonus of a dramatic, emotionally charged backstory. A story I only hinted at but guaranteed would make headlines. The magazine jumped at the chance. Not only did they cover every single cent of the additional high production costs, but they also guaranteed a feature spread and a massive social media push. My small, intimate wedding was instantly transformed into a viral, internationally recognized event. The wedding itself was like something out of a dream. I walked down the aisle to a string quartet playing a custom arrangement, surrounded by 30 of our dearest friends, all of whom were completely overjoyed for us. The food was Michelin star level, the wine was flowing, and the Tuscan sunset bathed everything in a golden, cinematic glow. The whole event was a complete, unapologetic celebration of my love and my success. On the day of my wedding, the magazine's social media started dropping teaser photos and videos, tagging the location, talking about the unbelievable romance, and the exquisite taste of the couple. By the time the reception started, the hashtag was trending. People were asking who the bride was, how she afforded a $6 million villa wedding, and why her parents weren't there. The climax came the following morning. While I was having a leisurely new-laid breakfast by the pool, the full, professional trailer for our wedding video dropped online, along with the first few high-resolution magazine images. The headline on their website was something like, "Tuscan Grandeur, the $1 million wedding a million miles from family drama." The article was tasteful, but it heavily implied that the reason for the parents' absence was a clear, dramatic rejection of the bride's life choices. Then came the emails, the texts, and the frantic voicemails from my parents. They had just seen the coverage, the scale, the luxury, the sheer, undeniable beauty of what they had missed. They were still in Iowa. Chloe's crisis had been resolved with a quick phone call and a promise of artificial peonies, and her wedding was back on. But my parents were now sitting in a drab chain hotel, watching their successful daughter's fairy tale unfold without them. And the public conversation was entirely about them being the absent villains. My mom's first voicemail was a hysterical, tearful mess about how I had embarrassed them, how I was being selfish, and how I had ruined Chloe's special week. It was still about Chloe, naturally. My dad's was shorter, just a defeated, "How could you do this to us? We love you." I didn't answer. I stayed silent for 2 blissful weeks, enjoying my honeymoon in Greece. The full magazine spread dropped right when I got back. The story wasn't just about a beautiful wedding, it was about a woman finding her voice, taking control of her narrative, and building a life so magnificent that it could no longer be overshadowed. The public narrative had cemented their absence as their choice to prioritize drama over love. The aftermath was exactly what I had intended. My parents were completely humbled. The local social gossip was brutal. Everyone in their circle saw the magazine, saw the posts, and knew they had chosen a manufactured crisis over their own daughter's happiness. They called me later, once the dust settled, not with the usual half-apology, but with genuine, tearful contrition. They admitted their pattern of neglect, of always prioritizing the perceived weakness over the obvious strength. They had to see my bastard across a glossy magazine to finally get it. It changed everything. Our relationship is still a work in progress, but the dynamic has fundamentally shifted. I am no longer the backup plan, and Chloe, what her hay bale wedding was fine, unremarkable, and had absolutely zero international media coverage. This whole mess taught me a profound lesson. You have to be your own first priority. If your own family is going to treat your milestones as optional, then you make them unmissable and you move on without them. I realized that my value wasn't contingent on their attendance, and the joy Liam and I shared was so immense it completely eclipsed their drama. So, I married the man I love, in the most beautiful place on earth, and I did it with a quiet confidence that finally spoke louder than their lifelong favoritism. The whole experience cemented my independence, and honestly, the memory of that spectacular, defiant celebration is the best wedding gift I could have ever asked for. If you made it this far, thank you for listening to my story. Like this video if you were on my side and think I finally did the right thing by choosing myself. Subscribe for more stories where I unpack the most outrageous dilemmas I've faced. And please need to know your final thoughts on this whole mess. Share them with me in the comments section below. I'll see you all in the next story.